Let's start in the NFC, where yesterday, just to revisit who you had selected in the NFC East, the Eagles, the West 49ers, North Lions, South Saints, and then your wild card predictions, the Green Bay Packers, Seattle Seahawks, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The glaring thing, first and foremost, you have two NFC South teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Neither of which,
that for a reason.
Neither of which the odds-on division favorite in the Atlanta Falcons. Take us through it.
Well, because I think it's an easy division. And usually, what usually happens in the month of October and November, we're complaining about the bad divisions are going to get two teams into the playoffs that don't belong. You know, last year, Pittsburgh got in. Mm-hmm. I mean, Pittsburgh got in with no offense. They got in. It was the seventh seed becomes a little bit of a, what are they doing in there, right? You know, and so because of the easy schedule, because of the NFC South, you know, battling back and forth, they could end up with it. I mean, the Bucs are good on defense. I don't think there's anybody questions that. Can Baker Mayfield play as well? I'm a big Seattle fan. I may be a little bit too far down that road. I think they're going to be improved. They won 9 games last year. And I think the Packers, even though they're playing in the North, I think they could take the Lions on. A lot of it, I'm disappointed in Aaron Jones not being on the team. I thought he was really good for him last year, but I also love Josh Jacobs, so Jacobs can certainly help them. So between that, I just think the price of the Seattle at plus 180 to make the playoffs is pretty good. And I thought the plus, and for the Bucs at plus 145 too.
And the Saints, by the way, plus 340 to win that division. And the Falcons, they're a minus 240 favorite to make the playoffs. You can get 2-1 if you think that they miss and end up being held out. The Cowboys as well, another team noticeably absent from your NFC selections here. They're a minus 210 selection to make the postseason. Second shortest shot in the NFC East. Plus 170 to miss, though. Now, this goes back to what we were talking about not too long ago with the questions around Dak Prescott, his contract, a lame duck head coach in Mike McCarthy, a bunch of people on that staff that are on the last year of their contract. How do they live up to things? They tend to be a good regular season team, though. So that's the thing. That's the one sticking point where I still have, even though I have the Eagles winning the division, I still have the Cowboys as a playoff team, considering the talent that they do have, and that even when they, you know, proverbially don't do so well in the postseason, they do something in the bed there. They always seem to have a lot of wins. 3 straight 12-win seasons, right?
Well, look, I mean, the same logic I'm using to get the Bucs in, you can use for the Cowboys, because we know, we'll see tonight, I can't wait, we know that the Giants and Washington are kind of struggling, right? So that should be 4 wins for the good teams like Philadelphia and Dallas. And then if you get 4 wins there out of, now all of a sudden in the next 13 games, you know, to get to 9, all you have to do is win 5 games, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Think about it. So that's the logic that, these wild card teams are probably going to have 9 wins, and they're going to have the right configuration of the tiebreakers. So I couldn't argue with you on that. At minus 210, it's a pretty heavy price, but I think it's the right price based on what they've done the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, let it be known that's not the bet that I'm placing. I just think that they're going to make the playoffs, so that's the pick there in name only, not in actual value in name. The Packers, I'm with you there. I think that Green Bay makes the postseason as well. And then we talked about it last segment, but the Los Angeles Rams, this price has actually come down. They're around plus 120 to make the postseason. Now it's down to even money right now. And for me, I just feel like the Seahawks are still a little bit of a step away. I'm not sure that I'm buying fully in on Geno Smith with the step back he took last season. The Rams, for me, I am, like we said, I am betting on Matthew Stafford staying healthy. I am betting on that offensive line being better and standing tall. So I see the Rams making the playoffs again after they did last year, a 10-win season and a near wild card win in the first round. But of course, the Lions got the better of that and ended up ultimately making the NFC Championship. Let's go to the AFC.
I won't argue with you on that, though. I won't argue with you on that. I really won't. I think that you're right. I think that they have a good chance. But the problem is, you just hope he stays healthy, and I hope he does too. I really do.
In the AFC, your division winners were the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals, and Indianapolis Colts. And then as for the wild cards, you're going with the Baltimore Ravens, so 2 teams in from the North. The Los Angeles Chargers in the AFC West come through in Jim Harbaugh's first season making the playoffs. That's a plus 110 price. And you have the iffers. So you are given a little love. The Jets aren't going to win the division for you. You're keeping the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East, but the Jets at minus 160 to make the postseason. You think they get there?
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like with Rodgers, if he stays healthy, I'm counting on that. You know, I know it's you're paying a minus 160 price. Well, the Ravens, I just feel like you can't ignore them, right? You can't ignore that they're always going to be there at the end unless something happens to Lamar and they get injured. But I thought the Jets at 160, I think it is because, again, you know, using the same logic on the Bucs, I don't think New England's going to be very good, right? And I think Miami's, you know, they're 4-10 the last 14 games of the last 2 seasons. The last 7 games, each of the last 2 years, they've won 4 and lost 10.
I have Miami making the postseason. I'm with you on Buffalo winning the division there. It's hard. There's so many elements about Miami that makes me not a believer in them in the long term. Just like last year, how they were in prime position to win the AFC East and couldn't hold on because of exactly what you just referenced, the way things fell apart at the back end of the season. I feel like they should be good enough, though, to make the playoffs again. It's a tough one, but minus 155, I think that those odds are right. I also have the Ravens winning the North and the Bengals making the playoffs, as well as the Chargers. So a lot of similar names for us, with the exception of the AFC South, where you have the Colts winning that division. I have the Texans. You have the Texans to miss the playoffs altogether, despite them being the favorite in that division, plus 150 that price.
Yeah, I just look at some point, somebody who made it last year is going to make it, and I think when you get to that first place schedule, it becomes harder, right? It just does. And I feel like again, I don't know who to pick to win the South. I had the Colts, but I wasn't sure there's going to be another team in there. I think they're all going to beat up on each other. I'm not throwing darts on the board twice in one division, I can tell you that.
Very fair point. No doubt about it. The Dolphins, by the way, I forgot to give you that price. Plus 120 for Miami to miss the postseason. Plus 150 again for the Texans to miss as well. Neither of us have the Jacksonville Jaguars as a postseason team. The odds indicate as much as well. Plus 130 to make the postseason, minus 155 to miss. This coming off of a year, though, Michael, where they entered last season as an odds-on favorite. It seemed like they were going to be the clear-cut winner in the division. Had a great start to the season. I want to say 8-3 before just the wheels totally came off the bus late in the year.
Well, they got to stay healthy. I think what we learned now is that Trevor Lawrence wasn't practicing very much late in the year last year, missed all the practice, turned the ball over way too much. You know, they couldn't get control of the defense, and they fired Mike Caldwell, the defense coordinator, hired Ryan Nielsen, who did a wonderful job at Atlanta last year. So maybe that'll make them better. But I think the question we keep asking ourselves around here is Jacksonville really improved? I think I'm not sure they have. You know, I think ATN's a fabulous running back, but I think they need someone else. I think they need a power back. Will they call enough runs? And Lawrence has been turnover prone, and he's not been able to take the hits as a quarterback and keep on ticking.
Yeah, when you add in the fumbles that he had last year, ended up being the most turnover-prone quarterback in the entire National Football League. Last thing here, with the AFC North, I mentioned earlier Mike Somich was the lone person in our betting guide that did not select either the Ravens or the Bengals to win the division. He chose the Browns. The Browns are plus 150 to make the postseason, minus 185 to miss. The Steelers plus 185 to make the postseason, minus 235 to miss. We know the back end of that schedule is a bear for Pittsburgh. But either one of those teams, I mean, the Steelers, nobody expected Pittsburgh to make the playoffs last year. Nobody expected the Browns when they lost Deshaun Watson midway through the season to get to where they did. Any shot at either one of those teams at a plus money price?
You know, that's a hard one. I think... You know, they always go back and forth on this. Now I'm going back. I know. Which one would you go with? I mean,
if I had to pick between
you could take all of them at plus money.
See, yeah, I struggle with it because I don't know if I am a believer that Deshaun Watson has the capability to get back to, even 80% of the guy that he was a few years ago. I just don't know. But the Browns were so good even without him that if that defense continues to be really good, and if the defense plays on the road like they did at home, then they should be able to overcome mediocre quarterback play. I don't know. It would be the Browns over the Steelers, though, for me.